Pat, have we finished our homework in behavioral finance where we should differentiate traditional finance from behavioral finance?
Not yet, but someone recommended I go to this website. It calls financetalk.com. She said that it's an informative website where they make creative videos, podcasts, and articles about finance.
Then let's see if there's a topic about traditional finance from behavioral finance.
Oh, we're just in time. They just released a video about it.
Let's watch it so that we can do our homework.
This is Finance Talk, where we believe
Wisdom is power.
and wisdom is money.
In this episode, we will talk about the difference between traditional finance from behavioral finance.
We hope along the way that you will learn and enjoy this episode.
Did you know that investing in anything from properties, gold, stocks, or on essay writing websites are bold and risky move? But what most people don't know is that the decision to invest in those stocks is influenced by traditional and behavioral finance.
In traditional finance, there is an assumption that the investor and the market are rational. They gather or receive all the information they need and their decisions are based on that data. Therefore, traditional finance states that investors will make financial decisions on emotions.
In behavioral finance, psychology has a role in how people make financial decisions or investments. Behavioral finance explains that people are irrational and our own emotion and bias have a role to play when making investment decisions. For example, a student will order an essay online from a single organization. This is because of his past experiences. Therefore, bias affects the decision to invest more in that organization.
This is what most investors experience when deciding what to purchase and to sell. This occurs because investors may judge based on their fear, overconfidence, gut instinct, and what others are doing, thus following herd and prior experiences.
With both traditional and behavioral finance having contrasting views of the financial investing world.
We invited 6 experts to fully discuss these 3 differences. Let's go and watch it.
Traditional finance assumes that an investor is a rational person who can process all information and balance. According to expected utility theory developed by von Neumann and Morgenstern, investors are entirely rational, have the ability to deal with complex choices, are risk-averse, and need to maximize their wealth. Investors maximize their well-being given their preferences and constraints by aggregating probability-weighted outcomes quantified in terms of utility.
While behavioral finance draws from real-world experience, stating that an investor has biases, it is irrational and his emotions do play a role on the kind of investment undertaken. According to Berberis and Thaler, behavioral finance elucidates investors' irrationality and the investment decision-making process on the basis of cognitive psychology and biases related with investors' beliefs. Take a student who needs academic writing help as an example. The student seeks writing help from an online company or firm, and there are 2 companies to choose from. One is local and the other is foreign. The student will most likely choose the local company.
Why this is so? Because just like an investor, the student-own biases played a role in the decision. His bias of overconfidence and familiarity in the local firm made the student invest in it. Although the local foreign company has a good track record and performance, the student will invest in the local company because of these biases.
According to the traditional finances, investors receive unlimited knowledge, data, and information that are perfect. The investor carefully processes this information, Therefore, there's a complete rationality, and according to the capital asset pricing model, or what we call CAPM, it presupposes that all the investors are rational and have access to the same information. They also analyze the information in the same.
But in behavioral finance, investors have bounded rationality, so the investor doesn't process all information. Regardless of how accurate the information is, investors are still bound to make an error in judgment. It links this with Sheffrin and Slovic because they describe the investors as imperfect processors of information, and they also stated that investors exhibit the tendency to commit mistakes and have perceptual problems.
Traditional finance states that the market is efficient and is a representation of the financial market's true value. This argument is based on the fact that traditional finance believe that investors have self-control. In accordance to efficient market hypothesis, it assumed that efficient markets are efficient because prices in the market incorporates all types of information to the degree that individual investors cannot beat or outperform the market.
But behavioral finance believes that the market is volatile, and that's why there are market animals. Here, investors don't have perfect self-control, so limitation exists. The volatility of the market leads to the rising and falling of stock prices, so an inconsistent market. In contrast, the behavioral finance assumes that financial markets are informationally inefficient. Specific application of behavioral finance can be examined in phenomena like inflation and underpricing IPOs. Behavioral finance theory holds that the market might fail to reflect economic fundamentals under conditions of irrational behavior, systematic patterns of behavior, and limits to the arbitrage in financial markets.
And as a whole, traditional finance and behavioral finance support investors to improve the quality of their investment decisions and performance. The development of behavioral finance theories can't diminish the importance of the contributions of traditional finance, but behavioral finance attempts to complete the behaviorally incomplete theories and models of traditional finance.
Since traditional finance and behavioral finance treat the concept of rationality in different manner, they presented different approaches for investment. Therefore, the concept of rationality can be considered as the central point between traditional finance and behavioral finance. However, understanding and acknowledge the role of rationality in investor behavior and investment decision-making process remain incomplete, and thus there are many future research opportunities in this regard.
That concludes this episode. We hope we differentiate efficiently traditional finance from behavioral finance.
We will see you again on the next episode.
Again, this is Finance Talk,
where we believe
wisdom is power.
and wisdom is money.
Wow, it was an informative video.
Definitely, I did enjoy and learn a lot.
So, correct me if my understanding is wrong. Traditional finance says that the investor is rational individual who can analyze all information unbiasedly, whereas behavioral finance says that investors has biases. It is irrational and emotion do have a part in making kinds of investment. It is also stated that financial finance investors have infinite accurate knowledge, data, and information and carefully evaluate the information rationally. However, in behavioral finance, investors have bounded rationality and do not process all information. No matter how accurate the information, the investor is sure to make mistakes. Traditional finance also believe that a strong form of market efficiency represents the fundamental worth of financial market. They argumentatively believe that investors have self-control, but behavioral finance believe that the market is volatile, which is why there is market abnormality. It also argues that investors do not have complete self-control, therefore constraints exist. The market volatility causes stock values to rise and decrease, resulting in an inconsistent market.
You explain it well, Mia. Write it down now in our homework.
Okay, let's make our homework now.